Continuous flight auger piling, known as CFA piling, is a cast-in-place, non-displacement piling method used for foundations and retaining walls. It is known for its low vibration and noise levels, making it useful in sensitive sites and urban environments. CFA piling involves the operation of piling rigs, large earth-moving equipment, and pressure fluid or air-filled hoses and pipes. These present potential serious safety risks to workers from contact with moving plant and equipment and uncontrolled release of pressure. This animation is a guidance piece to demonstrate safe work methods to implement during CFA piling. All CFA operations should be undertaken on engineered and certified platforms. Dial before you dig should be utilised to check for underground services. All high-risk areas must be fenced off. Workers must stay well clear of operating machinery and never stand in the path of a moving or reversing vehicle. Personnel must use an effective communication system. Workers should always maintain positive visual contact with machinery operators and must never enter blind spots or other high-risk areas while the machine is operating. Workers should only approach machinery when it has stopped operating and positive acknowledgement has been received from the machinery operator. CFA piling involves a hollow auger being drilled into the ground to a required depth. As the auger is withdrawn, concrete is pumped down through the auger stem to fill the pile hole with concrete. Reinforcement is then lowered into the pile hole to complete the pile construction. A concrete pump is attached to the rig via a rubber concrete hose throughout the entire process. Concrete lines used for CFA piling should be set up in a way that avoids blockages and makes them easier to clear when they occur. All kinks must be removed prior to any concrete pumping. Where possible, best practice would be vertical mast pipes interconnected with rubber lines and horizontal deck pipes. Line breaks should be in suitable areas to facilitate blockage clearance and line cleaning. A section of rubber hose upstream from the concrete pump assists with manoeuvring the piling rig, pumping and cleaning. A flexible section of rubber line hangs below the swivel and the auger connection point to facilitate auger movement up and down the mast. Concrete lines should be set up in a way that minimises risk. Bolted Victolic fittings are recommended to be used on the masthead to avoid accidental release. Whip checks should be installed in suitable locations to prevent loose pipes whipping uncontrolled in the event of a pressure release. Safety R-clips must be installed on all concrete hose snap clamps once fitted and tightened into position. Priming the concrete line is critical to help the flow of concrete and avoid blockages. A primer of cement slurry is introduced into the system. An appropriate amount should be used dependent on concrete line length. The primer is pushed through the line ahead of the concrete and pumped through to the auger head prior to commencement of the first pile. Alternatives can also be used for priming, such as polymer fluids. The correct quality and specification concrete should be used. Once pumping has commenced, operators need to constantly monitor for signs of a blockage and stop pumping as soon as a blockage is suspected. Blockages do occur on occasions and must be treated with extreme care. Telltale signs of a line blockage include pump hydraulic pressure increasing above normal levels, stiffening or expansion of rubber hoses instead of pulsing in sync with the concrete pump strokes, no movement of hose in areas that would normally pulse with pump strokes. The pump must be stopped immediately when a blockage is suspected, so the team can discuss the proposed solution and take steps to unblock. If a blockage is identified, the concrete pump should be pulled back by reversing the pumping flow as much as possible to remove pressure in the system. As a rule of thumb, 4 to 5 reverse strokes is often enough to relieve the pressure. The concrete pump hopper should be maintained at approximately 2/3 full at any time to allow reversing of the pump in case of a blockage. This requires careful communication with the concrete truck agitator driver. It is critical that the system is fully depressurized prior to breaking concrete line connections to clear a blockage. Workers must think about danger points and stay well clear from any potential line of fire. When releasing pipes, always stand clear of potentially moving sections of pipe. The connection between the rig-mounted fixed steel line and rubber line should be beyond the front of the cabin area. Workers must stand away from rubber line when unclamping from fixed line. Whip checks and hose socks must not be removed until after the line is fully split. Once safely split, clamps can be removed and blockages cleared by removing concrete from the blocked line. If a suspected blockage occurs in the upper mast section or rotary drive, an EWP should be utilised to gain access to the affected area. A visual inspection should be undertaken prior to recommencement to check for damage or additional blockages. After a blockage has been cleared, the team needs to decide if the concrete in the system is suitable to use before proceeding. Whip checks need to be reinstalled prior to recommencement of pumping and when reconnecting concrete hoses and clamps. All clamp fittings, both Victolic and snap fittings, must be checked prior to recommencement of pumping. Fresh concrete should be pumped through each section of the line prior to reclamping. On completion of piling, the rig should be moved to a safe location for line clearing. The concrete pump should be backed off to direct as much concrete from the line as possible back to the hopper. Compressed air and/or grout may be used to assist during the line clean-out process. When air is utilised, the air line is attached to the pump end using a blowout device, and compressed air is applied to clear the line by propelling a foam plug or ball through it. The auger outlet should be placed within a blowout bin to prevent the plug becoming a projectile. If grout is being used, it's introduced at the hopper and pumped through the line till it exits the auger outlet. During the clean-out operation, all workers must stand clear of the auger outlet and positive communication between the pump operator and work team must be maintained. Once the concrete has been removed from the line, an appropriate amount of water is inserted at the pump end, followed by a foam plug or ball. Compressed air is then used to propel both the plug and water through the line, effectively cleaning it as they travel. During this operation, all workers must stand clear of the auger outlet, and positive communication between the pump operator and work team must be maintained. Once concrete line equipment is cleaned out, it can be dismantled and equipment stored correctly for safe use during the next operation as required. In conclusion, workers on site have a responsibility to use safe work practices during CFA piling operations. Each individual business will have their own work practices that need to be adhered to and will be determined by the type of equipment being utilised. Large equipment and high-pressure fluid-filled hoses and lines pose significant risks, and best practice safe work methods must be followed at all times to maintain worker safety. For more information on safe concrete pumping, please refer to Safe Work Australian materials.